to lecture 9. The theme of tomorrow is the impact of AI and digital innovation on growth, employment, and distribution, and wealth distribution. That's exciting because, of course, digitization and AI are changing everything in terms of the traditional concept of development and productivity, and even more about wealth distribution. We are going to go to this agenda today. So we have a lot of ground to cover. We're going to talk about digital technologies and the future of the middle class with one case study that you are required to know. The bounty and the spread, concept of mean, median, and mode, labor and total factor productivity, skill bias, technical change, the so-called solo productivity paradox. Is it true that machines destroy jobs? We are going to review two important researches on AI and labor. So on the impact of AI and labor, actually on the impact of automation, AI, machine learning, and labor. And we're going to talk about the issue of the inequalities. And I'm going to give you at the end at least three possible leads for possible take-home projects. So don't go away before, because we can comment on them. The shift to digital, the spread and the bounty. Any of you heard about a company called Kodak? Yeah, you did? You did? How many of you have been, I'm not interrogating anybody. I'd like to know who of you have heard about Kodak? More or less, something less than 50%? Well, this is the typical average, is going down year by year. Every year I'm asking this question. So what was Kodak? Kodak was a behemoth and was substantially the most important company in the area of the analog photography. And was developed starting from a company town. It was Rochester in the US. More or less 140,000 people were working at Kodak in its golden times. And Kodak, in this way, has been extremely important in the industrial landscape overall, and was virtually a monopoly at a certain point in the area of analog photography. And unfortunately, at a certain point, a small company called Instagram came on the market. There were 15 people. 15 people, and people understood suddenly, let's say that the peak of the history of Kodak was in year 2000. In 2012, this tiny company, Instagram, with 15 people, changed completely the concept of the photography market, introducing the digital photography. And today, more or less, more pictures are happening in 1 minute than in all the 19th century. So substantially, we have a gigantic change of the market size. And by the way, Instagram in 2012, these 15 people was bought by Microsoft for $1 billion. So the guys got a fat check for their ownership, for their asset. And the impact was not just on the earnings of the 15 guys, was on the life of the other 140,000. because in 2012, Kodak filed for bankruptcy. And so what happened is that Kodak provided middle-class jobs for generations, but in the digital age, they now need to find other ways to support themselves. Puff! Suddenly, 140,000 jobs vanishing. And you find an entire city that's becoming a rotten city. Happens, of course. Digital is generating heavy, tough, sudden changes and revolutions in the quality of life, of daily life of the people. Here we are talking about the crisis of the middle class of the last 20 years. The digital revolution is strictly connected to the crisis of the middle class and to the social polarization that's happening. Because this is the main topic that we are going to talk about today, the relationship between digital and inequalities. We are going to go a lot deeper in the second course, digital economy, if you want to do it. We are going to talk about the role of Piketty, a major economist, and the disequality of Piketty is going to become a starting point in order to analyze more in depth all these issues. Just to give you an indication, in case you want to proceed going deeper into these kind of things. Now, so the shift from analogic to digital has created great bounty, a fat premium, a great advantage, and more wealth will be created with less work. Efficiency, certainly, a lot of efficiency. But is even driving a great spread, an unprecedented reallocation of income, large and growing differences among people in income, wealth, and other important circumstances of life. So the issue that I'm asking is, what is bigger, the bounty or the spread? What do you think? It's bigger, the bounty or the spread? To each other? Up to you? Say it again. Is a question? It's a question? It's a statement. So your colleague is saying that one colleague is asking if they are related. Your colleague is answering that probably they are proportional. So there is a proportion between the greater bounty and the bigger spread. No? So unfortunately, this theory that your colleague is stating is that the price for the premium in terms of efficiency is the human cost of all those that are paying the cost of the spread. They are certainly related. That's for sure. You don't think so? Of course. They are heavily related. Sì, ho capito. Good. So, the issue is to see even the kind of relations, because I'm not sure that they are directly proportional. The issue is there is certainly a relationship, but what is the proportion? Because the question is, if the price for the bounty is a lot bigger spread, well, probably we need to do something in terms of policies for social cohesion in order to reduce the social cost. And this is how to say, the key issue that's hanging over this lecture, that you certainly need to keep in mind, step by step, that we are moving on. Okay, so who of you want to give a definition of mean? So please, let's see who of you. You seem to be really interested in giving a definition of mean, please. Yeah, what do you think? Volunteering for the mode. What's the mode? The most frequent. Correct. Correct. It's not just an academic definition, guys. Please keep it in mind. This is really very, very serious. And you see it in a few minutes. Me, median, and mode, I always come back. I am hammering a little bit, you understand, but it's in order to make sure that everybody is from the same playing level ground. Mean, median, and mode are different measures of center in a numerical data set. They each try to summarize the data sets with a single number to represent a typical data point from the data set. That's what they have in common. Mean is the average number found by adding all data points and dividing by the number of data points. Please make precise definitions. So if you find it in your exam, please be precise about this. Median, you won't find just this question. You won't find probably 5 questions, of which this one is the first one. The median is the middle number found by ordering all data points and picking out the one in the middle, like your colleague correctly was saying. Median income is the income of the person at the 50th percentile of the total distribution. Mode is the most frequent number, that is, the number that occurs the highest number of times. I will make an example in order that all of us have clear this concept. So let's say 20 of you go to the pub. And of course, what you buy at the pub depends on the money that you have in your pocket. And probably on what you earn. Say that the average, they will say, conventionally, let's say that the average salary of a student is 1,000 euros per month. And so the average is 1,000. Then the richest of your professors that has a nice startup and earns 50,000 bucks a month enters. And so at this point, what's the change in terms? Does the mean change? The mean changes a lot. Changes a lot, of course, because it's 20 plus 50 divided by 21. And the median is changing. Not much. No, it's no, because why? Because, say it again.
Because the median is resistant to outliers. La mediana è resistente agli outlier, non agli estremi.
Okay. Correctly said, because the median is resistance to the extreme values, the values in the stream. So, what you see is that they are behaving in a very different way. And we are going to see an example now. Look at this graph. You have on the horizontal axis the years from 1960 to 2010. And on the vertical axis, you have the real GDP versus median income per capita. So at the end of the day, the average income and the median income from 1960 and 2010 in the US. And what you see is that, first of all, from 1960 to 1973, 74, what happens is that the two lines are going in parallel. Substantially, there is no difference. Starting from 1973 to 2010, we could go on, of course. Real GDP per capita, so the average salary at constant price, is growing a lot, while the median income is flat. Explanation? You won't give me any explanation because you already gave it. And so, please, what's the explanation? What's happening? Yeah, try. Why don't you try? Try an explanation. Somebody else? Oh, I see over there. Please. Excuse me, it's really difficult for me to hear. Can you? Yeah. Other views? Other point of views? You had a point of view?
Just about the graph that particularly from 19 till 1975, from 1960 to 1975, the median income per capita and the real GDP were almost like in the same bracket. But since 1975, they started to deviate. The real GDP per capita has risen. However, the median income per capita is like going flat.
Correct. Why? Your colleague tried to give an explanation. Yeah.
Maybe some people have more money than others.
Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, I think that's very likely. Why? Why? What? Yeah. That's interesting. It's not exactly the explanation that that's behind this. It's underpinning this. We are coming there in a moment. Other point of views? No. Yeah, certainly the distribution is more polarized. So this line, the divergence of the two lines shows that are growing inequalities in the revenue distribution, in the income distribution. Why starting from 75? What the hell is happening in 75? 73, 74, please? Excuse me, really, I am old and I start to be a bit deaf. So, nothing to do with this international phenomenon, please. Oh, yes, sir. Oil shock. Oil shock. So, guys, in 1975, I was a young student, and 73, 74. And I had a small Fiat 500. And of course, the money for the oil was very limited. And suddenly I found myself unable to get the oil for the car because the price doubled suddenly. So it's strange things were happening, even because, of course, there was a shortage of supply of oil to the country. And so at the end of the day, we could not drive our car every day or every Sunday. Just some Sundays, in other you have to leave the car at home because you are forbidden to circulate. So really it was a huge impact. The oil shock, the sudden increase of the prices of oil, the oil shock had an impact, a huge impact on the whole, on one hand, on the economy, because it took at least 5 years for the economy to start recovering completely. So to absorb the oil shock up to the beginning of the 80s. The other thing was that suddenly companies that before were not particularly careful in looking at efficiencies started checking very carefully their efficiencies and started, of course, to cut costs on one hand in order to make for the additional cost of oil, and started developing new human resources policies. And we see it in a moment. So remember, oil shock. That's the key. So summarizing a little bit what you've seen here, I've put it in writing for you in order to this to be more simple when you review this graph. Median income has increased very little since 1979, has actually fallen since 1999. Overall, between 1993 and 2011, median hourly wage barely changed, 0.1% a year. In contrast, labor productivity increased due to the injection of technology and digital. The efficiency, companies sped up the injection of technology in order to replace jobs. And of course, we are looking for jobs that were more qualified. So this phenomenon, this major technological upheaval, is very similar to what's happening now with artificial intelligence. Remember the oil shock, and take it into account when we are going to consider the impact of AI on employment. Most of the growth in productivity translated in growth in average income. So what you have, more investment in technology, more impact on productivity, growth in average income, but median income growth increased much less due to increases in inequality, not in the income of everybody. Remember, the tide does not rise all boats in the same way. These are bullshit. Okay? If somebody is telling this thing, okay, I don't comment. There are a number of economists that are still supporting this concept. Who are the winners? Who are the winners? That's interesting. And the winners were those who have accumulated the right capital assets. Pay attention. The winners are those who have been able to accumulate intangible assets. While the winners of the age before 1975, that the watershed of our age, from this standpoint, were those who had accumulated physical assets, the winners starting from that moment, in particular from the end of the century, are those who have accumulated the right intangible capital assets that are either non-human capital, equipment, intellectual property, financial asset, or human capital, training, education, experience, and skill. So, the right capital assets are information, are your brain. Plus, of course, the superstar of us who has special action, special talents, but these guys, of course, are outside of the normal range. So, it is not true that the rising tide of technological progress will lift all boats. I will insist on this concept forever. Actually, In recent years, digital technologies have been deployed for routine work, substituting for workers in clerical tasks and on the factory floor, while technologies like big data analytics have augmented the contribution and increased the value of people with the right skills. So, just a development on the first concept. And the end result is decreasing demand for less skilled labor, increasing demand for skilled labor. And this is what we call skill bias technical change. That means substituting versus augmenting labor value. And this is what is summarized by two graphs. The first one is this SMR group matrix. Who are the losers? And here you have, on one hand, manual and cognitive jobs. On the other side, routine and non-routine jobs. Who are the losers? The losers are all on the left side. Routine jobs, both cognitive and manual. Cognitive and manual. So the issue is that blue collar on the line that are doing, that are working on the line, have lost like the employees that are doing a very routine job. And this is just from the digitalization age. Not to talk about the AI age. That's one step forward. Non-routine jobs, of course. Well, the top is hairdressing, together with chef. These are two jobs, guys. That's plumber. Plumber is great. All the jobs that have to deal with personal service or that have to deal with the creative jobs. If they are manual or intellectual, it's the same. But there must be added value. There must be something peculiar. There must be something that makes you original. Beware of routine jobs, even if they seem to be safe, sure, and if your family will be very happy to see you in un posto fisso. Pay attention, guys. Posto fisso is the grave of your future career. I warn you. And let's go. Remember Zalone for the Italian ones. Demand for work has been falling most dramatically for routine tasks, regardless of whether they are cognitive or manual. So, this concept of skill bias technical change, that's developed a lot by Asimoglu, is well described here. So what you see is, here you see, as usual, the years on the horizontal, on the vertical axis, the wages for full-time US workers in constant price, 1963-2008. So what you see is that, as usual, up to 1973, all the lines from everybody from the graduate school to the high school dropout, all of them, including all the intermediate, college graduates, some college, high school graduates, and so on, all of them are nicely going up to 1973. 1973, oil shock, bam! And what happens? That for 5 years, all salaries are going down. Cost cutting, huge cost cutting from the companies. But in the meantime, at the moment of the recovery, beginning around 1980, you start having a significant, you start having a significant growing spread of incomes because companies are selecting people that are more qualified because they are replacing technologies to labor. And this is a phenomenon, as I'm saying, that's going to be amplified by artificial intelligence. So, we come to the solo productivity paradox that I wanted to quote even because it's going to be extremely important in the second course on digital economy. Mr. Solow was a very smart economist. In 1987, he said the famous statement, you can see the computer age everywhere, but in the productivity statistics. Because it was not apparent at the moment, there was not enough investment in digital at the moment. It started from that moment. And so he defined the labor and total factor productivity. So total factor productivity measures the overall efficiency and effectiveness of using all resources in production, whereas labor productivity measures the efficiency of labor only. And total factor productivity accounts for technological advancements and innovation affecting all the resources used in production, while labor productivity is mainly influenced by education, skill levels, and work experience. The total factor productivity is even called Solow's residual. That's substantially the specific impact of the investment in technology when on the total productivity. And I believe it's interesting to see, even to decode what's happening. So the problem is that if you look at what's happened in the last few years, the problem is that you see that the trend of productivity has been very mixed. Actually, the first thing that I would stress is that labor productivity takes a lot of time in order to emerge. From the first steam engine in 1765, in order to have a real impact on labor productivity, it took 120 years. For the electricity, from the first light bulb, it took 8 years. And now, while in the first 10 years of this century, 2000-2010, we had a significant impact of the digital investment on productivity, in the second part, we have a very modest increase. We had a very modest increase due to a number of reasons that we are going to discuss in the second course. But in any case, the real issue is the AI wave going to enable a substantial relaunch of productivity in the economy or not? And that's a major issue that we're going to review. But I would like you to have this clear in mind. Like always, it's never true that the rising tide rises all boats at the same way. And we see the phenomenon that I want to focus is this one, that labor productivity from 1972 up to 1997, labor productivity substantially was very close. You had a private employment that was more or less realigned in terms of growth together with the labor productivity. And then suddenly from, say, 1997, that's the year when the real wave of the digital starts, you start having a divergence of the two lines. Divergence of the two lines means that private employment is flattening, while labor productivity is keeping track upwards. And so more productivity with the same employment at the end of the day. That's what they say in this statement. They became decoupled in the late 90s. Labor productivity continued its upward path as employment sagged. Today, employment to population and real income at the median worker are lower than in the 90s, while GDP, investment, and after-tax profit are at record level. So, income inequality is increasing. That's a fact. The real victim is the middle class. Like in the case that we've seen at the beginning of Kodak, the middle class is suffering. The middle class, that's even the middle class made up of employees that are doing a routine job at post office. Le vittime del post office. Che cosalone non è solo. Is this just an ethical issue, or could this jeopardize social cohesion and potential economic growth? And I'm raising this thing, you understand, because if this polarization is going to continue, you're going to have less people doing very well, we're very well off, and the majority of people earning less and less. That's a recipe for social troubles, for social instability. There's going to be even going to spur the development. You understand that democracy suffers by this kind of situation. So there is a relations between technology, economy, social situation, and political situation, the situation of the democracy. All the things are strictly correlated. So please, my job is to try to show you the relationship between these different dimensions. Look the case of Argentina, for example, no? Argentina, that's a country that's being great potential, incredible potential of economic growth, a lot of financial crisis. Milei, everybody thought that Milei would fall quickly. Yesterday, he won the election with an incredible amount of votes and support. And of course, the situation in Argentina is still pretty shaky. A theme that I would share with you is this. So, yeah. Excuse me, I come there because I become so deaf that I want to be sure that I understand. Exactly. It's what we're saying. Now, what we're saying is that the injection of technology favors increasing productivity even without increasing the employment. Yes.
look at the inflation data from the Fed and other central bank, you see a high rate. And when there is a high rate of inflation, we know the consumer price increases after the salary doesn't increase. That's also another point. And basically, the central bank can't create enough money to compensate this difference. So that's also another point.
That's the threat, the famous threat that we're talking about, no? When the inflation rises the prices, but the revenue is the same, and other things, even taxes. Even the taxes, even the taxes are growing together with inflation where they are not, where they are related. They're not related to, they're not connected, adjusted. And this is double. So there are certain phenomena, so then and I try to focus on what is, in my opinion, the trigger of all these processes. Thank you. Let's move on. So the issue is, do machines at the end destroy labor? Because this is a debate that exists since at least 200 years. Probably 300, isn't it? Yeah, sure. And but there are a number of very interesting things. And I would suggest you, please, it's not in the bibliography, but go and look for an article for Professor Carlo Alberto Maffei. The title is Do Machines Destroy Labor? And it's been developing very nicely all these aspects, including, I will try to get it for you. I will try to find it and to put in your materials inside the e-learning, because I believe that is developing very nicely all these themes. I will go through this concept, at least in summary terms. So the concept is, let's start from the concept that machines, let's consider them as the visible organization of techniques, considering all the new digital technologies main digital technologies from robotics to IoT to artificial intelligence. And software, let's consider as a new evolutionary innovation of techniques, as invisible organizational machines. Think about it, no? It's underpinning the organization. Mark Andreessen was saying software is eating the world. So is there any difference in terms of efficiency between software and the robots as far as labor replacement is concerned? I'm raising this question to you. Or is it substantially the same quality of effect? What's most powerful in terms of labor replacement? And why? Any of you? Wanna try? Today you are on a trial mood. So. The real issue is this one: replication cost versus scale economies. So, if you want to increase the production and you have a line of robots, you need to invest in fixed assets and add another line of robots. But if you want to expand a process that's based on a software, the increase is an intangible asset. So the cost is close to zero. So in these terms, you have replication costs that are growing for an order of magnitude lower than the scale economies that you can get by the deployment of software. So this a gigantic quantum jump in terms of increase of impact of productivity of software versus robots. So the impact of digital and then artificial intelligence versus robotics and versus automation is massive. So you can expect the effect of this second revolution, second digital revolution, that's AI, versus the first automation wave is going to be incredibly bigger, potentially at least. Software embodies the risk of erosion for economic and organizational sustainability in many intellectual professions. We've seen this. Look at the journalists, for example. No, there are virtually no journalists that are providing the articles that are feeding the socials. There are journalists, but they have not a journalist contract. No, this was a very privileged and protected kind of job before, and today, on the opposite, there is a wild market for journalists. Traditional individual learning process versus digital shareable data enabling wider learning capabilities, no more scalable and shareable machines, is what we said before about cost replication versus scalability. Social networks, okay, we are going to see in a moment. Software also displaces financial capital. And you understand that if you have a major real estate chain and you have to compete with Airbnb that doesn't own and does not invest in one only single apartment, it's clear that's an unfair competition at the end of the day. So it's fair because competition is the market, but certainly software displaces financial capital. So just to give you all the dimension of destabilization the software is introducing into the established economic environment. Once digital technology reduced the informational asymmetries between supply and demand, this is what your colleague was saying before. He was right. So substantially, software is reducing the informational asymmetries between supply and demand. You have certain advantage as a consumer because you can compare many different suppliers. And certainly there is a more perfect market, as far as this is concerned, that's enabled by electronic markets. They reduce also the organizational asymmetries between different companies. I mean, one competitive advantage between companies was the internal organization. So companies that were in condition to have more efficient internal organizations were more competitive than other ones. Today, SAP is the great equalizer. Because the supply chains, everybody uses SAP. SAP, scarcely. The largest European software supplier. SAP, okay, I got it. SAP is the largest European software supplier that's providing the supply chain that's used by virtually all organizations. So substantially, that's controlling everything from procurement to organization of the production, to the organization of the stocks, so synchronizing all this moment of the procurement, of the production, and of the delivery of the product. So supervise. You don't have to do anything. You don't organize your own supply chain. You just utilize this software that's substantially changed. It's become, as I'm saying, a great equalizer between all companies. Is what I'm saying, that they reduce the organizational asymmetries between different companies. Social network, an extension of work with extra-organizational means, the publishing industry that I was referring to. Journalists, that are doing the work of journalists without having a contract of journalist and working for €5 per article for the socials. Between them, routine physical and logical tasks have been replaced by visible and invisible machines. And I'm moving now to present the result of two empirical research. You're going to find a reference to the two research in the bibliography. I've selected two researchers, and the first of them is generative AI at work. And it's been done, you looked at Erik Brynjolfsson is the guru in this area. So the two guys that you have to refer to in order to go deeper into these topics study Erik Brynjolfsson and Aaron Acemoglu. These are the two great gurus, real gurus, guys that know what they are doing. And the basic textbook that I recommend you to see, and I've indicated just three chapters, is a book of Erik Brynjolfsson that was written in 2014, is perfectly actual. It's incredible, no, 11 years, but I didn't find anything clearer than these three chapters that I strongly recommend you. We'll find some of the concepts that I already presented and many others. Brynjolfsson, 10 years after his basic work on digital, started analyzing the impact of generative AI on the work, on the labor. And with this team, they have interviewed 5,000 customer support agents. They were working for a company selling and providing business software to customers. Say Zucchetti, just to give you an idea of a product that the most used product in this area in Italy for professional services. The AI system was monitoring customer chats and providing agents with real-time suggestions for how to respond. So substantially, this company was using a chat, simple chat, that was supporting the agent in their relationship with the customer. They had to deal with customers on a daily basis, of course, because they were selling products and they were managing, of course, complaints and the relationship with the customer. And the system, the chat, monitors them, and what they were looking for was how to try to give an idea, to have an idea of how efficient is generative AI on the support of the daily activity of these customer support agents. And these are the main results. Access to AI assistant increased worker productivity by 15% in average, with huge differences. Huge differences. You understand, this is a typical case of Trilussa's chicken. I eat two chicken and you eat none. And the average is that everybody of us is eating one chicken. And not particularly professional comparison, but you understand the concept. So at the end of the day, this is the chicken that they came out with. 15% in average. In any case, okay. My old professor in statistics was saying, Roberto, remember that a number is always better than nothing. And in any case, here is the result of the average of 5,000 analysis, 5,000 answers. Junior and lower skills employees improve speed and quality of output. That's interesting. So where is most effective? With the junior. And it's understandable, of course. You could expect it. Well, the experienced workers experience small gains in speed, but small declines in quality. Even this is understandable. Experienced workers have small gains in speed because they're already speed enough, because this is due to their personal experience. Small declines in quality because they are paying probably the increase in speed with a decline in quality. Moderate in both cases. But they work, they do more calls, but with slightly lower customer intimacy. That's even understandable. iAssistance facilitates worker learning and improves English fluency. That's essential, particularly for international. For the international, it's a great help in order to improve the level of English. Nothing to do about this. I believe that this is a positive, it's something that we can bring home, certainly as a general result. Gains from AI are largest for problems where human agents have less baseline experiences, but the system has adequate training data. So what's very important, of course, is that you don't use a general LLM, large language model. But what's important is that the LLM used by the company embeds the data, the real data of the company. Because in this way, of course, and needs to be properly trained to the base data of the company. Because in this way, of course, it can provide an effective support to the employees. Particularly those who have less base, in the areas where you have lower knowledge. This very interesting, in my opinion. Assistance improves the experience at work. Customers are more polite and less likely to ask to speak to a manager. The usual thing when you're managing a complaint on the line, so the customer at a certain point gets pissed off and says, okay, let me speak to your manager. And you're dead at this point because you're becoming irrelevant in front of the customer. You lost all credibility. And customers become more polite, but probably because the customer support agent is smarter, is managing in a smarter way the relationship with the customer. And this generates a better relation. And that's interesting. So these are number of weak signals altogether start to give an idea of the impact. It's a huge research. I would certainly encourage you to review the whole research, even to understand the methodology and to catch other signals, and you'll find it in the bibliography. The second research that I have seen that another interesting research has been published a few months ago by the Randstad Foundation, AI and the Humanities, and the research is on the impact of artificial intelligence on Italian workers. And this is, there are a couple of statements that I've taken from the presentation of the research. It says that artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming work, impacting all occupational levels. While some jobs are at greater risk of automation, new professions related to the development and management of AI are emerging. The future of work will not only be a matter of replacement, but of skills evolution. So the paper studied the possible evolution, so the research that's being summarized into the paper that I even provided you with reference, studied the possible evolution of professions following three different indicators that examine respectively the risk of automation, the risk of impact of automation, exposure to AI, incompatibility with machine learning on the various professions. So the research went to analyze the potential risk represented by automation, AI, and machine learning on the single profession in the single areas. It's a wide research. There are a lot of tables. I have summarized just one in order to give you an idea of the content that you can find. And it's this. I ask your pardon because it's in Italian. I will translate it for you. So you see the different lines. So the lines in black, you see the impact of the automation on potential impact of the automation on the job. In the area, in light blue, you have the impact of AI, and in darker blue, you have the machine learning. And don't look at the negative. The negatives means, due to the methodology, an even lower level of impact. It's not a negative one, absolutely. Let's go and see this. So substantially, just to give you the 8 categories. Number 1 are legislators, entrepreneurs, and top management. Number 2 are intellectual and scientific professions. Number 3 are technical professions. Number 4 are clerical and office-based occupations. Number 5 are skilled occupations in commerce and services. Number 6 are craft workers, skilled manual workers, and farmers. Number 7 are plant and machine operators, assemblers, and vehicle drivers. And number 8 are elementary unskilled occupations. So, what we see is that there is the impact on automation is particularly number 4. Number 4, profession, executive profession, so routine profession in clerical jobs are heavily threatened by all these 3 categories: automation, artificial intelligence, and even more by machine learning, particularly by unsupervised kind of applications. But even jobs like entrepreneurs are threatened by artificial intelligence. Why? Particularly middle management. Number of middle management jobs that have a huge component in terms of routine activity are going to be very seriously affected. Intellectual professions, professors, lawyers, is going to be strongly affected. Technical professions too. As far as machine learning is concerned, as we've seen, is particularly threatening for executive profession, for office activities. Jobs from 6, 7, and 8, that mean craft workers, plant and machine operators, elementary and skilled occupations are going to be seriously threatened by automation. This is the basic. I wanted to share with you in order to show you the starting point. Then is the research that you can certainly go deeper into, goes to analyze the impact on the various on gender, on the different economic sectors of economic activities, and on a number of other dimensions. At the end, the main findings that I've summarized this: automation impact. Jobs involving repetitive and standardized tasks, particularly in manual sectors like construction, tourism, and logistics, are most vulnerable to automation. Exposure: highly specialized professions, often held by women. There is a huge risk in terms of gender, and that already exists, of course, in ICT. And I would certainly invite invite you to consider this because it's not going to be automatically resolved by a new technology. Italian nationals. Italian nationals have a higher risk than international workers. So at the end of the day, probably for international students, it's going to be more difficult to find a job, but it's going to be more easy to keep it. So there's going to be, from this standpoint, the fact of being international gives other values that makes the job more resilient, even versus new technologies. That's pretty important. And individuals with higher education, of course, individuals with higher education are more exposed to AI because their jobs are more exposed. Machine learning. Workers in administrative and sales roles, particularly those engaged in remote work, are highly exposed to machine learning technologies. Particularly the sales people working in smart working seem to be more exposed to the risk of machine learning. As I was saying, particularly for unsupervised kind of application. Demographic shift. The declining workforce in Italy, we have projecting a decrease by 1.7 million by 2030, may mitigate the negative employment impact of automation and AI, potentially improving overall productivity. There are pros and cons here. Skill evolution, the focus is shifting from job replacement to skill transformation, emphasizing the importance of digital literacy, technical skills, and human-centric soft skills like creativity, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence. The research highlights the need for workforce reskilling and adapting educational systems to prepare for the rapid technological transformation of the labor market. So this final conclusion is something that I'm coming to the same conclusion at the end of this lecture, in a few minutes, because I want to go to, in this final part, to the first hypothesis for discussion. So these are the trends. These are a set of weak signals that we are catching from these two empirical research, to field research. To field researches that are conducted by professionals with professional tools, methodologies, and it's very important when you look at the researches like this that you should read in full, this is my suggestion, that you look at the weak signals. Weak signals are the most important information that you can get and the most useful that you can get, provided that you pay real attention to it. Therefore, it seems that new technologies do not increase poverty per se. On the contrary, it seems that this technology can produce a great quantity of new value and of new jobs, certainly. The main difficulties are related to the development of a system of skills that is coherent with the pace of the technological innovation. Because slowness and inefficiencies of the educational system make new technologies destroy existing jobs a lot quicker than they do create new ones. And this is a key concept I wanted to share with you. So we are producing, let's say, 100 data scientists a year. In Italy, probably we are producing 1,000 data scientists a year. How many do we need? Probably 10, 20, 100 times more. So this bottleneck in the system of production of knowledge, of qualified knowledge, is a major problem that you are facing. And this is the case of the digital skill mismatch. That's even the AI skill mismatch that you're facing. So, the challenges for young people. To accelerate the production of new digital-enabled employment opportunities, certainly, because, as I was saying, digital and AI are killing jobs a lot faster than they are producing the new ones. Probably they will produce even more. I don't know. But there is an asynchrony between the destruction of jobs and the generation of new ones. And this, of course, if you add the effect of polarization that I have been talking about before to the digital skill mismatch, you get a social problem. To make the speed of training of new human capital consistent with the manual intellectual work replacement rate induced by automation, failing that, the entire socioeconomic system loses productivity. Solution, lifelong education. Guys, you have to study all of your life. Unfortunately, due to the fact that technology is developing so fast, you will never be able, probably, to be able to grow your knowledge at the same pace that the technological development is, except in case you study all your life intensively. That's it's like the shark. If the shark stops swimming, it goes down and is unable to keep going. Clear, it's going down. So you are shark probably, but need to keep swimming always. The faster the rate of technological replacement of labor is accelerated, the more the system will produce structural unemployment. If we are unable to pace the production of new knowledge, technological knowledge, with the technological change. The big problem, I should say that for the new generations, the issue depends on you, and on the capability, of course, of updating your knowledge quick enough. The challenge is for mature and elderly workers. What are we doing with the stock of obsolete skills already accumulated in the system? That's the major issue. You consider the Italian public administration. It's made up of 3.4 million people. 700,000 of them will go, will leave the job and go on pensions in 8 years from now. The average age, as I'm saying, is more than 50 of these people. Most of them don't have any training and education in the area of ICT. What do we do with them? How can we get in public administration efficient enough, able to leverage on the new technologies, on digital technology, on artificial intelligence with this stock of 3 million, I wouldn't say, let's say 2.5 million of dead souls? Two scenarios: a Marshall Plan for regenerative skills. So either the idea is that you have to do something for them. So the first thing that we have to do, of course, is this is the stock of human asset that we have. You have to do, considering that we cannot afford to establish a system of welfare according to which we are guaranteeing a pension to 3 million, 2.5 million people. I'm talking just the public administration. We need to retrain them in order to have at least some basic skill for them. If economically sustainable, how much is going to cost? Yeah? A lot. Now, the alternative is very tough from the social standpoint. Reconverting unproductive skills to services for people in a new self-sustainable welfare system based on public-private subsidiary. Consider that in Italy we have more or less 3 million people that are unable to take care of themselves. And just 15% of them is supported by the public assistance. Most of them are managed by what we call badanti, that are waiters that are fully devoted to the care of the elderly people. And this is just one area. We are desperately needing support for personal services to the most fragile part of our population, because we are the oldest country in the world, except for Japan. So from this standpoint, we could reconvert unproductive skills to services for people. It's not going to be easy, of course, to persuade people that are sitting under a counter at the post office to go and take care of the elderly people. But probably we could be in a position to action a major social intervention in order to restructure completely our welfare system. And of course, this is going to be, in any case, the opportunity in order to hire qualified, talented young people to feed our public administration. That's the major problem that this country has today, because the public administration is so inefficient that is a real burden to the full development of our country. Excuse me if I'm talking about this very Italian kind of situation, but I wanted to use it in order to exemplify a case that is not the only case. We have many countries that are in similar conditions. Not so serious, perhaps, but certainly. So, the risk, we are facing a dramatic inflation of competencies, of lack of competencies. That's a major issue that you're facing. You're on the right side of this line, but this is a major issue that makes sure that the speed at which we produce new competencies in the area of the digital or artificial intelligence matches the speed of development of the technology. Is the major problem of the addressing the skill mismatch. Now, that's what I wanted to share with you today. These are my suggested readings. It's very long, but at the end of the day, my suggestion is that you work on the 3 chapters of the second machine age of Brynjolfsson and McAfee. I definitely suggest you to read it. You will find many of the things that I have used in the first part of this lecture. You'll find many others. And of course, you could even like it and decide to read the entire book. The second reading that I would suggest is Acemoglu and Johnson, Power and Progress, where Acemoglu is developing most of the concepts that Professoressa Bellini already shared with you in her former lectures. The social technology, the productivity bandwagon, and so on. And these 2 lectures are strictly related. I put here the references. You find them on the simply Googling on the net. That's Randstad Foundation, AI Humanities, the Impact of AI on the Italian Workers, and Brynjolfsson, Rock and Silverson, AI and the Modern Productivity Paradox. No, this is another book. And the research is Generative AI at Work. And I have put together, for those of you who want to do more work on this thing, 2 major reports, one of OECD and one of International Labour Organization. The first on employment outlook, the future of work, and the second one is the first, the main research on the generative AI and jobs, and about the trends that the International Labour Organization is identifying. Good. With this, I would come to the conclusion, 3 possible themes for take-home projects. First one, does generative AI enable a significant increase in productivity? In which sectors, and what effects does it have on employment and on the quality of work? And of course, I have presented one research on this, Brynjolfsson. There are many others. And in this case, of course, I would expect you to do some work on top of them. The second one, identify the major international researches, beside the one from Randstad Foundation, that have examined the effects of automation, AI, and machine learning on employment and job quality, and summarize their findings and any divergences. While the first one is on generative AI, this is on the three major technologies. The third one is, in case we acknowledge that digital is mainly an inequality generator, which policies would be more effective in balancing these effects and establishing an acceptable level of social cohesion? Identify some real-world cases and initiatives implemented by companies or governments internationally that pursue this objective. So, what governments are doing, mainly, but even companies, in order to balance the effect of the inequalities that are generated by the digital. There are a number of policies that you will easily identify. The problem is the effectiveness of these policies. If you want to dig a little bit into this, I'm certainly available in order to talk to you about this. With this, that's enough for me for today. I look forward. On Friday, we don't have a lecture. We are going to meet on Monday in order to have our 10th lecture, while the final lecture will be on January 9th, I believe. Because now that I learned a little bit to know you, I want to do a custom lecture for you on the basis of the things that I believe could be more useful, in particular about artificial intelligence. That means the more controversial aspects of artificial intelligence from the theoretical, philosophical, and ethical standpoint. And so I need to work over Christmas on this. It's going to be a custom project for me. Good. Thank you for your attention, and some of you want to discuss about take-home projects, I'm here. Avanzato. Allora, aspetta un attimo. Oh. It's dead? No, it's not dead.